All right, good afternoon, and welcome back to the Game Dev Show. Today we've got Salim and Greg here, and we're just going to kind of hang out and chat and talk with everybody about random game dev topics. I don't have anything specific as an agenda, so maybe we'll let the people who were here with us kind of drive things and see where it goes from there. So, Salim, how's it going? It's been a little while.
Good. I'm just chilling, you know. It's been that long. I was here, what? I guess Christmas time.
Yeah, it's been like 3 weeks since people have seen your beautiful beard. You know?
Classified as beautiful.
There's got to be somebody out there who'll classify it as beautiful. At least your wife. And Zim. I'm sure Zim would classify your beard as beautiful.
Maybe. It's not groomed enough for him, but yeah.
No, not quite. Anyway, and then Greg, thank you for coming back out and hanging out in your fancy. You both have very fancy houses there.
Yeah, this is the motion background I use for the D&D campaign I run on Roll20. We use Google Meet for the video conferencing part, and then I basically use Roll20 for all the maps and the handouts and stuff. D&D Beyond for the encounters.
Yeah, nice.
I make use of all the technologies.
Nice. So can you go into that a little bit? It's something I've been a little bit curious about. My son's been playing a bit, and I haven't had a chance to really dig into all of the tools. And I've seen some of like the 3D visual tools where you could drop characters down and, you know, kind of simulate stuff. Is that what the D&D Beyond one's doing, or no? What are the different tools, and how you want to just go over that a little bit for any of us other D&D nerds that might be interested? It's been a long time since I played, but I'm kind of curious, like what the state of stuff looks like. Feel free to screen share
a map. Yeah, well, I just want to get to a map that my players have already gone through. So I don't spoil anything.
I wonder what D&D's tools are built in. I know some of them were built in Unity. I've seen a couple of them at GDC, some tools that did similar things, but.
All right, so.
What happened to your house, Salim? Your pool, somebody stole it.
Get rid of that flashing goofiness. Or messing with people's eyeballs.
All right, what do we got here, Greg?
Yeah, so this is Roll20, and so in Roll20 I can create maps and put them in folders and stuff, and I can move the players from one map to another, and then there's tokens on there that represent the players, like these tokens here are the player tokens, and you have different layers, right? So you have the token layer where you can actually interact with tokens. You have the GM layer where things are hidden from the players, and I've got a bunch of mods installed, so I can take a monster and make it invisible, and so I can move it around, and then if I want him to become visible, I just do this bump push, and then he comes to the foreground. Then I can make him go invisible again, and it'll put him back on the GM layer. So that's really nice. If I want things to kind of pop out and surprise the players, I just use that mod. You can put in all kinds of like animated effects and stuff. And I've got a bunch of like spell animations. Like if they cast fireball, I can just drag a fireball. Let's see. And it shows you the area of effect and everything. And who's going to be hit by it. So that's kind of cool.
What does it look like from a player perspective?
Yeah. So if I pick like this player's token, you can simulate it. Oops. The hotkey to do that actually hit my monitor. And I mean, actually logged me out. Try that again. There we go. So this is from the player's perspective.
You got to share again. Your share disappeared.
My share disappeared. Okay, let's see. Entire screen.
Yeah, I want to see this. I'm kind of curious how this whole thing works.
Yeah, so it has line of sight, right? So from his perspective, the walls, he can see where he's already explored. It's just kind of grayed out. But then you can see the line of sight, you know. So if he goes through a door,
That's cool.
You know, so they have dynamic lighting. So there's a whole nother layer here, which is the dynamic lighting layer. And you can have doors that they can interact with, windows, and that sort of thing.
That's cool.
And then I've got all my handouts, you know, so if I want to have a handout that I can show to the players, you know, like when for each room, I'll have a handout. And if I click show to players, they see everything that's in the visible area here. And then there's GM notes that are just for me. And you can have hot links to other handouts and stuff too. So this is a fantastic tool for managing your campaign, just to go from location to location and have dynamic maps with dynamic lighting and all of that. And I always try to have some just generic maps, like if an unexpected random encounter happens, I just want to throw them on a map and throw some monsters in there. But D&D Beyond, I have a bunch of collections. I have collections for my campaigns. And for the campaign, everybody in my campaign, I can have content sharing. So they can have access to all the sources that I have, like my monsters, my magic items, and stuff like that. But these are the characters that are in my campaign. And so I can look at their character sheets and see everything that they would see on their character sheets, right? And you got their spells, their inventory, all the actions they can perform. And it will even roll dice for you. So if I create an encounter, like if I run this encounter, you can have it auto roll initiative for everybody or just for my people.
Nice.
And then when you start the encounter, it goes through each player, but I can roll dice right in here. I can, you know, if I want to have them make a tentacle attack, it'll roll the dice for that attack. It'll roll the damage. I mean, anything that has a dice roll, it'll roll the dice and stuff. And so to create my own custom ones, I made this little TypeScript page where I can generate the JSON that makes that rollable stuff. So you can click the button and have it roll in the game. So.
Oh, okay, cool. And then you just insert that into your data.
Yeah. Like if I wanted to do it to hit roll, like if somebody has +6 to hit, I can say to hit and say this is for tentacle attack, generate JSON. It gives me that whole JSON string that I can just copy and paste into the character sheet or the monster sheet.
You need to generate and copy a clipboard button.
Yeah, this is a copy.
A single button. It does both.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could have done that too.
That is
always
cool.
Looking for ways to optimize things.
Yeah. The second I saw a code, so I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
that is really damn cool.
Yeah, and I'm using ChatGPT extensively. So like all those room descriptions, the monster stats, the magic items, the traps, puzzles, all those things, I'm using ChatGPT for that. It's been annoying the past couple of weeks though, because it's been really, really, really slow. I'm still on 3.5. And it takes several minutes to come back with a response. And I'm also using.
Why don't you just use Bard then?
I'll have to try that.
Yeah, if you're using 3.5, you may as well just switch over to Bard. It's, I think, better than 3.5, and it's not going to be slow. That's the Google one, for if you haven't used it before. For everybody else, it's just like, I think it's bard.google.com, and it's kind of like ChatGPT, but free. But it's free with ads. It's Google, so there's ads. You'll get a response sponsored by something.
So this artwork here. All the artwork that I'm using for my handouts, for the weapons, for the monsters, for the magic items, like if I go in here and I go to my collections, my homebrew collections, and let's see, I'm going to look for this Phantom Mind Flayer.
Somebody asked why it was special, by the way. It's because Salim showed up. Sorry.
So this artwork here, that's Midjourney. And then I use this token stamp page where I can paste in a border image and it will generate a token.
Oh, nice.
So like in Roll20, all these monster tokens, that's all just straight out of Token Stamp using the Midjourney images. So
That is cool.
That's pretty badass.
So that's how I've been spending a lot of my time lately, prepping for their adventures.
That sounds fun.
There's also a plugin it's called Trap Maker, where I can put an image on the foreground. I can click on it and click Trap Maker and create a trap out of it and give it like a detection radius.
Oh, nice.
And so when the player moves over it, if they move their token over it, it will trigger the trap, display a message, maybe do an attack roll or damage roll or something, and it will move the image from the GM layer to the player layer, to the token layer, or actually to the map layer, so they can see it. And so I can have like a cool visual effect for the trap. So it even triggers sound effects. So in Roll20, you've got a whole library of audio. They have a jukebox, and I can add audio clips for various different things. I can have environment sounds. I can have sounds for different attacks or different traps and stuff. But yeah, there's so many cool mods and plugins for Roll20 that I'm only just beginning to scratch the surface on.
This looks really cool. Are these both paid apps? Or are they free or?
They're free.
Okay.
Well, actually, I have the premium license for D&D Beyond because it lets me share content with my players. And then I also have the pro license for Roll20 because it gives me access to all their API, their mod API, and some other stuff, the dynamic lighting stuff. I think all of those features, you have to have the paid version to get those features, but there are free versions of all of them.
Oh, okay. Oh, it seems really cool. I want to play now. I got to find some time and that looks like a lot of fun. I don't know. It's been a long time since I played D&D. And somebody asked in chat who's been doing game dev the longest. That is definitely going to be Salim. So, and speaking of Salim, like I said, I mentioned it was I called it a special edition because you said you'd be able to make it today. And I just wanted to catch up with you on a few things, seeing first off, like what's new that's come out that is exciting and stuff. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the CES releases. There wasn't a lot. There are a couple things that came out that seemed kind of interesting. And I was also curious on your thoughts on some of this AI stuff. Are you seeing people using, in this because I've been having a lot of AI discussions lately, are you seeing people using AI a lot in bigger AAA, AA size companies or other just game developers that you talk to, or are they all kind of avoiding it? I was curious what your general view and what you've been seeing in the industry is. I guess we start there and then go into whatever other random, like I said, I got lots of random shit I want to talk about.
I mean, the use of AI is obviously like super taboo because, artists and writers are certainly angry about it since that seemingly is the part of the job that's the easiest to replace, I guess. But as far from a design standpoint, I haven't really talked to anyone about putting together a system or anything using a chat GPT model.
Are you seeing designers using AI image stuff for concepts when they want to one of the things I've seen you do and lots of other people is to come up with this hey, here's some inspiration pieces, and usually they're scraped from the web and other games and stuff kind of like that. Are you seeing them adopt AI image generation and hey, make something kind of like this, or is that even still too taboo and the artists will kill them if they bring that to them, or what's the situation there?
I think that if you don't have a concept artist, or if you have a lot of things coming up and you have very few concept artists, it's probably okay to do that as a guideline. But last time I was on there, we discussed something like this, where I think the concept artist is still important because of they have that human element to it. It's easier to talk to them and get back and forth feedback on what you want exactly. I think the AI art is still a good stepping stone, and it shouldn't really offend anyone if you're just throwing something together just for reference. I mean, it might, in my situation, I would just go to a game or something that I know that I want, get a screenshot of it, and then put it in a design doc, and then just so I mean, I'm doing a little bit of work there. I'm not having a concept art made. I'm just saying, hey, look at this thing here, or watch this video of this moment in the game because this is exactly what I want, and then letting people run with that. And that in that sense, I'm potentially undercutting the concept artist, or the concept artist might take that and say, okay, let me make something out of this. I think if you had some AI art generated with the understanding that, hey, this isn't like, don't just use this. If you're going to be sensible and you're serious about it, you don't just use that. I think it's probably being used to that extent. Hopefully it's being used to that extent. But then you have stuff like just generally industry wise or worldwide where Sports Illustrated like lays off their entire staff because, they're probably just going to go to AI generated stories and things like that, which they were already, I think found guilty of. So yeah, it's definitely like a double-edged sword in that regard. But I think you could use it in that way. I haven't personally talked to anyone using it in that way. But I mean, like I said, if I can get images from something else as an example and say use this, I think you can use it in that way, and it shouldn't offend anyone. Certainly shouldn't be taking anyone's job in that regard. But the industry is kind of crazy right now.
Yeah. I think one of the areas I would be okay with AI art taking over the majority of stuff is like general UI stuff. Like, obviously some games have really cool, fancy, flashy UIs, but most of them aren't. The majority of the UI is pretty standardized. Being able to just generate UI stuff that all kind of matches the theme that I want and fits would be nice. And then have an artist focus on, like the main menu screen and the important things. Those kinds of things.
I mean, the problem there is, it's just making the machine more efficient, which by making the machine more efficient, some people are gonna suffer for sure. You effectively need less people at that point. And UX and UI are obviously super important. If you're just talking about like UI art or just widgets, things like that, probably fairly simple. Of course, there's plenty of stuff that you can just like.
It's one of those things where like the default is kind of go to an asset store or a pre-built solution. And I feel like AI has the opportunity to make that better, to take the asset store version of this is an RPG thing, and then give you variation and make it fit to the thing you want, and make this button into a panel that kind of matches. Like those, I feel like those kinds of things. There's a lot of value there, and it's not a thing where there's an artist that was going to be there anyway creating the art. They were going to use a pack, and here you're just making it so they can use a pack and make it actually look quite a bit better in their game, or maybe you're replacing them using some specific asset pack, and you're just generating something for the UI. I don't think it's a huge win or a huge benefit, but I think it would be nice. It's one of the things that I hate working on. That could just be personal.
In the end, every AAA studio wants to be able to press the make game button and pay as few people as possible and get paid for a product.
I think a fix game button is really useful too, though. One that just fixes the problems.
Sorry, make bug-free game button.
Or like a explain bug button would be nice. Like, hey, why is this broken, or why might this be broken button? That kind of thing would be helpful. Obviously, I'm not going to catch everything, but for some stuff, especially for like I feel like for new developers, that would be really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Like, hey, why is this not compiling, or why is this not reading my input? And it just knows and tells you like, hey, looks like you wrote a thing here trying to jump, but you put it in start, dummy, or something.
Yeah, that's the stuff we were talking about before about like the guy that I coworker mentioning that it's a future of programmers and engineers is being prompt programmers instead of low-level programmers, which I think obviously low-level programming will always be useful, but it is it is definitely a more specific skill. But yeah, like being a prompt developer and being able to know what questions to ask, how to ask them, what model to use, things like that, and then taking that and bending it to your will. Because I mean, I'm in the middle of, or I was in the middle, last year of looking at stuff that was, Chat GP generated, and a big chunk of an app being built that way, and you can see um, kind of the flaws with, just kind of fast production. Throw this in here, and the like looking at the code is fairly inefficient because the same call is being done here when it could just be done this one place here and access and stuff like that. And I'm like a novice at backend stuff, but I can look at it and go, this is nuts. Like, why would this be done this way? And the answer is because it's just kind of copy pasted. I think that if you get to a point where you can ask the right prompt, get that code, and then but you still know enough to take that example and use best coding practices and put it in a place where it's fairly efficient, as far as implementation goes. And you can also like look at it and make a good decision on how it's applied instead of this kind of general way that you put in this prompt. I think that maybe that's the future of being a programmer. It still has a human element. You still have
It's
to make
like the midterm. I feel like the intermediate future, like the next like 5 to 15 years. My guess is like 20, 30. Maybe it's further out years that it's much more like that prompting.
Yeah.
Well, it's like it's more like you're talking to the holodeck and telling it what to make, and it just makes stuff. Eventually because of the speed, it's gonna just get better, right? Like it'll be able to generate some insane number of versions of a game in the time that you talk about it eventually. So it's gonna get good enough that it can do these things and will start to slowly replace. I mean, I don't know that it's going to be a fast thing, or like I said, there will probably be people doing low level stuff forever. Like there's still people doing low level circuit design and hardware level stuff. Although it's obviously heavily helped by the current tech and stuff. But I feel like it's going to eventually switch to something that's more like that. I don't think it's going to be that fast. I feel like because of the cost of computing power and stuff, but there will be a couple more breakthroughs, and then eventually it'll get to the point where writing code is like a thing that people used to do, and now it'd be like writing assembly. Like writing C# will be like, when you used to write assembly, now it'd be you're putting things together more and more high level. But I mean, I still feel like we've got at least a career's worth of time on that, and there will still be plenty of things that aren't doing that going forward. I mean, there's plenty of shit that runs like from the 80s still. So
I think it's funny. Yeah, I think the last time we were talking about enterprise level stuff and just how they're always so far behind. There's always be used for the non-GPT or prompt-based engineer. But again, with all the information being asked and put into the models, they're eventually, they're going to be fairly quickly probably up to speed enough to be used there or leveraged. But I do think the one thing out of the CES that I saw, I think it was out of CES, was that Rabbit.
The R1
like sold out like immediately, which because I was like, man, I might grab one of these just because I'm curious about it, and it just was gone. But the fact that it's basically just like a Google Voice app device, the big orange handheld device that's just ask it a question and get back responses. Is very interesting that people are like, yep, I got to have this thing right now.
It's basically like a next year's phone feature, right? It has an orange box. Yeah, it's just going to be on the next year's phones. Yeah.
And then there was something, I thought I just came across an article where there's something they were introducing where you can, so there's already like the holographic screen projection stuff, which has been around for a couple of years now, I think. Yeah. It's just getting better. But then I saw something about being able to pay stuff with the palm of your hand now, which I know that there's some company that has like a brooch type thing that lets you do like something with your. I think it actually lets you project a little monitor display from your hand or something like that. Something crazy. But yeah, I came across some article. I saved it to look at it later. But where something about being able to like swipe your hand or something. Man, stuff is pretty crazy. And this is without like putting microchips or something in your body. Like we've just figured out how to not do that. Um, and then like there's some crazy stuff. I'm like going on a tangent here, but it's kind of sports stuff that's also fairly interesting. The Los Angeles Clippers are going to open a new stadium next year, and they have this section called the Wall, where they're only going to let Clippers fans be there to kind of intimidate the visiting team. And they're supposed to have some tech in the seats and stuff where they're going to be able to tell when you're cheering, when you're like getting up, and all this kind of crazy stuff. And then as a part of that, I guess you're going to have like some kind of little club or something where you can get discounts on like gear and stuff based on how much you cheer and get up out of your seat and things like that. So it's kind of kooky. Because they're definitely using AI and stuff like for that.
Yeah.
It was kind of crazy to think about the application of it when you have a bunch of creative people that have a lot of money. Because the guy that runs the Clippers, Steve Ballmer, who used to be like number 2 at Microsoft.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he's all about getting some AI stuff in there and the tech in there. That's interesting. Yeah. Oh, Dave should be working on that.
Isn't it pretty sad though? You have to incentivize your fans to cheer for you.
I think it's because he spent a bunch of money on this new stadium because the Clippers have been kind of the redheaded stepchild sharing a stadium with the Lakers forever, and so like I think this like the concept of like what they call the Wall is like a soccer thing, where they try to keep the fans like in one spot. Obviously, soccer fans are way more intense than I think probably.
You mean football?
Sorry. Football. But yeah, I think like the concept of them being there isn't like crazy. But yeah, like the tracking of it, you're just like asking for some weird, like if someone goes in there with they go in like a Clippers jersey, then they change it to like the visiting team's jersey. Do you have security come down and ask them to like it's like a strange,
the AI can just stun them, right? Just tase them.
A drone.
a little sleep dart right at them.
The drone has like a security like a Clipper jersey on, and
they do it Nickelodeon style. The drone go over and just slime them.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh, that'd be some good stuff. All right, there was a question in chat I wanted to pop up over my face and read. I'm gonna pull up your picture next, Greg. It said, do you have any takes on why the art side of AI generated content seems to be making so much more noise than code generation? I don't hear much flack for Copilot or GPT solutions.
That's easy. That's easy.
Yeah, what's the easy? Go ahead.
Because art is art. Art is visual. Like you can make.
It's easy to attribute.
Yeah, like I mean, code. Determining whether someone took some code off of GPT is, you have to sit there and look at it, noodle it, and like ask the same question and check GPT to see if they got off of there. Mm-hmm. Just because they exist doesn't mean that they're using it. But art, you can. I mean, I guess it's getting pretty close now where it's hard to tell the difference. But then you have to credit that art to someone's code. You don't have to credit that to anyone. You don't. There's no like copyright on the code or anything like that.
Yeah, like the artists, they've made an art style and kind of designed things. And code. So, like, very few people have done that.
Yeah.
Well, it reminds me of the meme. I stole your code, and the guy says it's not my code. Because he got it off Stack Overflow or something. But I did see some stuff. Well, somebody mentioned it in the game show yesterday that apparently Copilot, they're accusing them of like stealing your code. Like when you are using it in your app, that it will use your code to train the model. And so other people will actually see your code in their answers or something.
Yeah. I thought that everybody knew it did that. That and everything on GitHub. It scans all those repos too. That's why it knows what you're going to type, because somebody else has already typed it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And a bunch of people have probably typed that same thing.
Yeah, but somebody was posting that it gave back a verbatim, like line for line result of their code. For a question.
Well, I think it'll also do that based like intentionally giving you code very similar to what you write. So it's going to look at your own stuff and then preference that. I know the writer one seems to do that. And I think Copilot does that too, at least with all your open stuff. I don't know if it does it through like all of the things attributed to you, but
It seems like storytelling using ChatGPT would also be. I know that there's stories out there, like I referenced the Sports Illustrated stuff earlier, but I don't. It seems like that would also be actually potentially larger than art.
the storytelling part.
Yeah, like just like generating. Actually, I think I ran across an article this morning where someone wrote like a major novel or something, and they've like admitted that they used
Oh,
um, a
not
ChatGPT
surprising.
or an AI model of some sort, and like they're like doing it, saying, "Yeah, I did this. Like this was just a part of my process."
Uh,
Uh, like still, like the ideas came from me. Um, so I'm surprised that isn't like becoming a big thing, because people are certainly using it for that. Another a coworker of mine told me that what he does with his kids is he will type in the chat GPT, like, tell us a story about a princess, a bear, and something else, and it'll print out the story, and then they'll read the story together,
yeah,
which I think is like a cool use of something like that. Because it's like together we're having a story. Like I don't have to like pull out a book that you read 4 billion other times. Like this is just like a different take. Let's see what kind of kooky story we can get quickly by throwing in these 3 random things or 4 random things. I think it's a really
yeah.
cool use of it.
It could make for like a really interesting like a bedtime storytelling thing too. That's just kind of doing it and somewhat interactive. Could even
Yeah.
just pop up and present some options every now and
Oh
then.
yeah, you could ask it to just do like a choose your own adventure using these things and with this setting,
Yeah.
and then have it prompt you. Which that's a cool way you could do it as well.
Yeah,
I'm
as long
using
as you
it
can get it
heavily
right.
in my I'm using it heavily in my D&D campaign.
Yeah, I
So
think that's also
all
a
the
great use.
thematic elements and plots and stuff.
Yeah. I don't think people should be wholly upset by AI. I mean, people are going to abuse it, of course. I mean, we're heading towards Skynet days. Terminator will be here soon. I will embrace my Terminator brethren. But yeah, I mean, if you use it sensibly, I mean, it's the goal. At least I want to believe the goal is to just help make things easier and better for all of us. We just have to put it in the right hands and use it in the right way. And just from like, I don't think you can ever just remove the entire human element from it, from anything. Certainly not in a creative sense. Um, so, I mean, while people's jobs are definitely being affected by it, and that's unfortunate, I'm hoping that we can find some sort of way to just kind of not be mad about it, embrace it, and just work with it and make it better, which will make us better in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt on the question too of why code gets less slack and storytelling, I think gets less slack too, is just that with art, like you can get like a final replacement, like a full thing, like this is the art thing that I needed. With a story, I feel like you're probably just going to get pieces. You're gonna fill in portions of it. You're probably other than like you're probably not going to generate your entire game story and your entire novel off of it. You're going to be generating more of the side tertiary things, and with code you're generating like you're just solving little pieces. And with art, I feel like if you were just solving little pieces, like fix this little thing here, and it was that, people wouldn't care. But since you're really in a lot of situations just completely replacing an artist. But I mean, to be honest, I feel like this is just like the next iteration of outsourced art studios. Like some people will use them. Some people are still going to want to have custom stuff done inside. And a lot of places will have like a small set of artists that use a combination of outsourced tools, bought stuff, and AI things to build all of the art is my guess, like where most places will probably end up.
That's a sensible result. But you talk about putting it in some corporate hands where they can save some money. The ideal result is that we don't even have to use outsourcing. We can just use AI. So then there's no outsourcing.
What do we need artists for? We got Salim and Midjourney. Done. You got Photoshop, right?
I mean, I think your point about the story though is right. I think that, if I write a certain style and then I get some stuff I still have to take that and turn it into my style of writing, or I could just be lazy and kind of try to plug it in and assume that people won't see the difference. Whereas, yeah, with art, you can depending on what you're doing, you could just take it whole hat and not even care about anyone changing it. So I definitely.
Oh, and eventually it's going to be at that point where you go, give me this character, and you have that. I mean, you already told us to pretty much do that. But
it's getting pretty crazy now. I think it still has issues with things like elbows and hands and all kinds of stuff like that. But if you're talking about just like environments or, like, why couldn't you get away with it? Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Oh, yes. We'll see how it all ends up when Skynet takes over and kills everybody.
Skynet, man. I need to register that site. See if it's taken.
Novel Crafter is an AI fiction writing app that can generate complete novels quickly in collaboration with the author. Yeah, see, I could see like these kinds of things being really cool. And it's weird. I wonder like how that's going to impact, because writing jobs are already sparse. Like they're very, very, very few of them. Do you think it'll actually impact them, or do you think that the ones that we're going to hire a writer will still hire a writer?
You're talking about jobs in the industry?
Yeah. Game jobs specifically. Obviously, like writing jobs would be different.
I think when you like go to oh man, Game of Thrones author, what is his name?
Martin.
Yeah, R.R. Martin. When you go to R.R. Martin to write, the story for your game, Elden Ring, if you're talking about a game like that, I don't think that you're, someone like Miyazaki is going to use AI generated stuff. Now, R.R. Martin might do that on his end, like with this novel crafter as an example, just to kind of get over it. But someone like him, he's probably got the story pretty much laid out at a high level, and he just wants to like plug this in and see what it produces, because it still has to have his style and his tone in it. So I think in the cases that where you really want someone who just writes to do your story, I think in those cases they're still gonna seek out a writer when it comes to like a high-end serious game, because part of it I think is probably because it's a high-end serious game. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny on the story, and if you don't at least come out and say we're doing it this way, if people find out, then you'll get a bunch of backlash, even though people will probably still buy the game. It's good because winning solves everything. But yeah, I mean, ultimately in the industry, as far as just pure writers go, they're already at a premium as it is. R.R. Martin isn't a game writer. He's just an author, right? So in the industry itself, just a writer is few and far between. So in that sense, I think someone like a narrative designer or something like that, they could potentially leverage AI to write a story, but they still have to come up with the player experience and how they're experiencing the story and how they interact with things like quests and stuff like that. They still have to come up with those things. You can probably plug that stuff in the GPT and it'll give you, or any AI model, and it'll give you something based on stuff that exists now, and say, hey, you could build a system like this, but you still have to have that. Once again, that person who's an expert, this person has experience, that person who wants to like push the edge and come up with something new and solve, problems, gameplay problems that have existed for a while with the way that we do things now commonly, which is, just how you progress stuff. That person still has to be there to make those decisions. So having that foundation, to your point about like the store and AI just kind of being like a replacement for that or a supplement to that, it's a similar concept, I think. It's just people have to, again, just be responsible with it. Just, don't try to replace their people. Like, it's a supplement. Like, have it help us. That's how it works. I mean, I can't imagine like design systems or game systems. You could probably plug in, which, I probably should try this at some point. You could probably plug in something into whichever you want to use and just get a good result foundationally for something that you could build a game around. But I think in the end, you still have to have some human hands on there to make something golden. Ultimately.
I think it's good like a sounding board too. You can bounce your ideas off it and get some more random inspiration. Or another thing I use it for too is to ask like what things are like an idea that I had, so I can go find all of the things that that already exist that are similar and go look at those.
Yeah, I mean, you're just using it like Google then, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I've got this idea for a game. Are there any like this? And explain it out. And they'll go, oh yeah, here's a couple of like that, dumbass. Go check that out.
Yeah,
like, okay. Yeah. I like Jeff's comment too about a pen and pencil artist saying apps like Photoshop were cheating. It's like and digital photography was cheating. I remember when digital cameras first came out. And,
oh man,
I knew a couple people were very, very against them because they were just a bad version and cheating and all kinds of different issues.
I mean, isn't there still an argument between digital photography and
I don't think so.
And analog as far as equality? Like there's times when the result you want one of these for. I mean, it's obviously a very specific case, but there is like an actual difference between the two as far as
if there are, I don't know anything about them. Yeah. I just assumed that they stopped making non-digital cameras 20 years ago, and that was the end of it.
Oh man, the Polaroid's making a comeback, dude.
The Polaroids are terrible. Those little instant ones. They're like, hey, look at that! I paid $5 for a crappy picture. No, I pay $5 for another crappy picture. Stand still. I don't want to waste it.
Talk about that. Polaroids are awesome.
Oh, they're the biggest scam. They were cool back in the day, like when you didn't have an instant digital version of it. The new ones are a scam. The new ones are just there for nostalgia to get people to buy them for kids.
That reminds me. They're like bringing the Sony Walkman back. Oh,
why?
I gotta find it. It's actually like it's an actual tape deck. It's like a modern version of it, but it actually plays tapes. Oh man, I gotta find it.
That seems very, very useful.
I gotta find it. Sorry. I ran across this article, and like the visual of it was pretty cool. I'll find it at some point later, and I'll send it to you, and you guys talk about it later. But yeah, I think that's kind of interesting. Like I saw it, I'm like, man, do I even have any tapes that I would?
And if you did, you would listen to it one time, and then you'd be like, well, this is annoying. I don't want to fast forward a tape again.
Well, I could find all of my mixtapes and stuff I used to make in high school to get the ladies. But at this
go listen to all the old radio ads.
Probably deteriorated to the point where
if I still had any tapes, I would be ripping them to the hard disk as fast as I could to keep them from going bad.
I still have a VHS tape sitting over there. I need to get ripped.
Oh man, I got a bunch of VHS tapes.
My friend was on Montel Williams. It was hilarious. It was a long time ago. We were teenagers, and a girl convinced him to go on there and say that he was 40 and married, and he was 19. She was 16. So Montel Williams is just yelling at him about cheating on his wife. He didn't have a wife. He wasn't married or anything else.
What?
Yeah.
No.
It was hilarious. I've got to rip it. Yeah. I mean, he didn't care. He just wanted to go on. Like she convinced him to go, and he got a free trip to go there, go be on the Montel show. And for some reason, he didn't realize Montel was going to be yelling at him for cheating on his wife with a 16-year-old. All totally not true. Like I said, he was literally 19.
Oh man, I need to see that.
It was funny stuff. I've got it here. Just I need to get it ripped. I'm going to rip it and then send it over to him. I keep promising I'll get it to him. So
I had a friend that was on Family Feud.
Oh yeah, that sounds much more wholesome.
Which one? Like,
it was in the 80s, like late 80s.
Nice. With Dawson, right? Dawson was the Richard Dawson.
Yeah,
I guess the new one. It might not have been wholesome. Harvey.
You got to get someone on Jerry Springer. That was the show.
Yeah.
Where like the security man became like so popular.
Steve, he got his own show. Oh man, the 90s. It's good time.
Oh yeah, old school commercials are great too.
Yeah, I'll have to check that. I wonder what's on there now. It's going to be interesting. And I have no idea what I recorded over either, what used to be on there before. It's probably going to be like an old Star Wars tape or something.
I have some old Super Bowls and stuff on VHS that I ripped.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, the commercials. I have Super Bowl 7, which was 1972.
Oh, wow.
Right. And then it's so funny to see the commercials and stuff from back then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Very, very, the contrast is insane. Take some of those people and just like bring them into now, and they'd be like, dude, what is happening?
Oh. Well, all right. You guys got any other topics you wanted to discuss this week?
No. We went down the AI.
Well,
for sure.
I had one thing I wanted to just bring up to both of you and the audience real quick and just ask. I was thinking about making a separate YouTube channel just for the show and just putting all of the show episodes onto that. I think I'm probably going to do it, but if anybody has a reason not to or an objection, I just want to know.
As long as the YouTube channel is called Salim is the best.
What else would it be called?
But no, I think it's a good idea.
All right. Yeah, if I don't hear any reasons not to within like the next week, I think I'm going to do that. Just set it up so I'll go through, get all the episodes on there in order, the edited ones, because got a lot of them edited and ready to go up anyway. So
and so you'll just move them off the old channel?
Yeah, just move them all onto a separate one that's just show episodes. So people who just want to watch show episodes just be on that one. And then people who don't be on the other one. I've noticed that like when I look at the subscriber, the difference, it's like most people watch one or the other. The overlap is very small. Like it's like 4% of people watch videos and podcast episodes. So like maybe give them something separate.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? So yeah. It's worth a try.
Do you think you should ask? I think you should ask ChatGPT.
That's a good idea. I should ask ChatGPT if there are any reasons not to.
Or no, what's the Google one? That's Bard. Ask Bard. And see what answers you get. One might say yes and one might say no. One will be like the little devil on your shoulder, one will be like the little angel on your shoulder.
It's always interesting asking multiple and seeing what you get.
I did that the other day. I had like a question about trying to understand like DB context and stuff. And I asked the exact same question, and they both like the examples were vastly different. I mean, they got to the same point. They weren't like telling me anything different as far as like how you do it, but it was interesting. One's like generate these 3 files, put this here, reference that, and the other one's like, no, just do this all in one file. Like, wait, which one should I do here? It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I still found the writer one to be the best at those kinds of things too. Just telling you like the actual code. I'm going to try all of them out side by side. I guess before we go, everybody, if you haven't already grabbed Highland Panic, you should definitely do that and go subscribe to Greg's channel. It's linked in the description, and you can see the process that he went through building the game, publishing it up on Steam, and everything else. Any other words on that, Greg?
No. Thanks for the plug.
Yep. Go grab it. Go check it out. If you didn't grab the free farm asset, that's available too. It's up on the asset store. They do the Publisher of the Week sale, and they've also got there's a 50% off sale going on as well. You can see that in there, but just go grab the Pixel Pack. I actually grabbed this yesterday, tried it out, and then made a little character controller to run around. And I was thinking about throwing together a quick little video on it. I just spent a few minutes messing with it. I was like, oh, I want to run around in here, and there's no character controller. So set that up and started playing with the tile map stuff again. It's an interesting little pack worth checking out. And then the last thing, multiplayer mastery course. We got our live call tomorrow. I'm trying to get the lessons finished and uploaded today. I'm going slow though, so it's taking a while. I'm redoing for the inventory. Greg, you'll be probably interested in this part. I've changed up. I decided to refactor the stat system a bit and make it scriptable object and dynamic so that everybody can just kind of build whatever they want and build it out as a slightly more complex system. I initially had it as a enum based one where you had to go in and change code to modify them, and decided, well, why not switch this up to be more like if I was working with Salim, what I would give him. So put it together with scriptable objects and a setup for that for stats and inventory and all that. So that's coming soon, but we've got our call tomorrow. We chat about that a little bit more. Salim, you got anything people should go check out, like your dad hat?
Why would they check out? I mean, it's here. It's right there.
Yeah.
I'm a proud father of a San Jose State student, and a husband of a San Jose State student as well. No, not really. I will say I need to get back to you and get some feedback from my son on your course. He hasn't talked to me about it yet, but he's logged in and I think he's been checking it out. So maybe
you have to let me know how that goes and get him going and have him start coding games for you. It wouldn't be that hard. The games that you want to make, a lot of the ideas, like it wouldn't be too difficult.
I know I can just prompt them now. I can turn him into an AI model.
Well, he can certainly use one to get past all the times when he's stuck with stuff. I think it helps. So, all right, I guess. Any final words?
No, it's fun being on here. I just wish it wasn't on Fridays because it's right in the middle of the work day for me.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to do more on the weekends. I'd really like to get into some of the new games that have been coming out and some of that stuff too. Diving into some of those. I will
tell you, Infinite Wealth comes out and Tekken 8 comes out next week. And if you are a fan of the Yakuza series or you play like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth is going to be a blast and a half. So I'm looking forward to that. And Tekken just looks fantastic. So definitely check them out. But yeah, Infinite Wealth is just so exciting. Like just watch the demo video. It's just kooky fun. And it's funny that the Yakuza is a series that's pretty good at world building, and Like a Dragon is fairly goofy overall. But still the world building and like all the side quests and stuff, it doesn't feel like they wasted any energy with their side quests. They all like have some cool storytelling that just enhances the world itself, and then the overarching story is actually pretty well told. But then Infinite Wealth just goes from there, and apparently Infinite Wealth is supposed to be like 2 times as long as Like a Dragon, which is already fairly extensive, and you don't get bored with it. So yeah, definitely if you're looking for something fun, and it's like a Dragon is the Yakuza series where the combat's turn-based, but it's all in world turn-based combat. And yeah, just really fun. Great experience. You can sit down and lose hours to it and just be laughing out loud the crazy stuff that's going on.
I'll have to try that out. I've been looking for something. And Tekken 8, I feel like I stopped being good at Tekken after 3.
Tekken's always been a fun fighting game, even if you're not good. Like, even if you can button mash through it, it's just one of those fun technical fighters. And some of the character stories and backgrounds are actually fairly interesting, even though they've gotten a little ridiculous over past years between Kazuya and Hayachi and all other goofy stuff. But Tekken's always been kind of like a guilty pleasure of mine as far as fighting games go. It's just kind of a fun. I'm not sure what it is. It's just really fun to play it, even though I'm not really good at fighting games.
Yeah, it was always one of my favorites. All right. Well, I guess we're going to head out and we'll be back next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment down below, and come join us again on Friday. All right. See you later.